Tom Kahl, sports editor for the Beaver Dam Daily Citizen.
I'm James Wold, the assistant sports editor for the Beaver Dam Daily Citizen.
Now we're going to talk about the girls portion of our all-area basketball team for the past year. We'll get started right away once again. Our player of the year, Randolph senior guard Michayla Swanson.
I think the first thing when you think about her is leadership. Just her ability. Tim Ullman, head coach for Randolph, really put a lot on her in terms of being able to operate the offense, and she handled it with such aplomb. Kind of reminds me a lot of Megan Kahl, the player of the year from last year, in terms of just having to take over a lot of things on offense and really running a fairly complicated system at times.
Yeah, a couple things that really stuck out about Swanson in my mind. Just a player that we've thought pretty highly of for about 2 years now at least. Just number one, Tim Ullman talked about how the Rockets had great chemistry, and that was obviously indicated through the record. And obviously Swanson, I think, was a big part of why that ship ran steady. And then I remember Folly River talking about it last year in terms of their playoff contest, and then the Heritage Christian staff said the same thing in the sectional final this year, that Swanson was really the player that they were most concerned about and that they had targeted. And anytime I see a team target an opposing player with a jump defense, that should speak volumes.
And not only that, she when I talked to her after the first Blackhawk game, she talked about how her defense was a little suspect at first, and Ullman would basically say you couldn't guard your own shadow, but I think that's not maybe giving enough credit to her because she's really improved in that area, and she averaged about, I think, a little over 3 steals a game on the season, and really was a nice anchor to the top of that 2-3 zone.
Well, and you're talking about a Randolph team that, lost 3 games?
Okay. Twice to Lourdes and once to Heritage Christian. Yeah, that's not a bad season.
Sticking with the Rockets, senior forward Allison Pickard also made the first team, and just a kid that really blossomed as a senior and made perhaps one of our most improved players in the area, both boys and girls.
Yeah, she could smooth offensive player. I think her percentage went down a little bit toward the end of the year, but I mean she could shoot outside, she could shoot inside. She was especially deadly, I thought, shooting from about 13, 14 feet down the baseline. It was so hard to really stop. And in the 2 games against Blackhawks, she was pivotal. The first one, she had 17, and I think about 8 or 9 boards. And then the second one just, came up with a couple of clutch shots to send them off to the sectional final.
Well, she's got the combination of height and quickness, being a scholarship volleyball player. So she could drive to the basket as well as, be a factor inside. And then you couple that with the confidence that she played with, just was really at a high level, and I think really everyone at Randolph fed off of that.
Something to be said for just developing and being a senior and being a girl that takes that leap.
Absolutely. We're going to go a little younger now. Fall River. Sophomore forward Kelly Tramberg. Wow, what a couple of seasons she's turned in already.
I mean, if it wasn't maybe for the Randolph team, she probably could have easily been a player of the year. I mean, she was D5 All-State. I think she's going to be an All-State kid, or at least an honorable mention by the AP, and just one of the most gifted offensive players, I think, in our area. Just ability. I mean, I've seen her do reverse layups like that's nothing, and I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah,
she really has that wow factor to her.
Yeah, definitely kind of plays beyond her years, and I think in just the 2 years, they've won conference, and just the consistency that she's played with, despite being an underclassman, is really what's stood out in my mind. And sticking with the Pirates, we also have sophomore guard Alyssa Klecker.
The head of the snake, as Coach Jim Doolittle for Fall River talked about with Klecker, is she really anchors everything. She led the team in assists, or led the conference in assists, was second in steals at over 4 a game, which is just an insane number of steals, and just one of the best defensive players in our area.
Yeah, you think about kind of the twin axles that really, that the Pirates kind of rode upon, or her and Trim are just, Swiss Army knife players that do so many things so well and have the athleticism to get up and down the court, and that style that Fall River plays. And boy, you think about that team, and it's really kind of sophomore laden, and already won two conference titles, and you kind of wonder where they can go the next 2 years.
Well, and Jim told me just recently that he's like, if I keep this group hungry, which and Doolittle's good enough, he'll find a way to do it. They have the chance to be really special the next 2 years.
Yeah, they certainly look like they played hungry to me so far. Moving along, we also have Marxian guard Brandy Bender, who, boy, once she started taking the initiative offensively, the Hornets really got it rolling the second half of the season.
There's a reason why they won 14 of 16 games, and their only 2 losses were in overtime by 2 to Randolph, and then I think by a 2 to Oshkosh Lourdes, and both by this identical score, ironically, but she was the biggest reason why, with her ability to just kind of take over.
Yeah, and Marquezan has had a lot of kids playing together now for about 2-3 years, and they just really needed someone to step forward offensively, and when she did, that really stretched the floor and really opened things up for everybody else.
And underrated defensively too. I mean, they're kind of all little pests, so to speak, in a good way at Marquezan, and she's one of the better ones there.
And our final member of the first team, Beaver Dam senior guard Kylie Rateris, who, really went from a 2-guard last year and a kid that, really kind of left her mark in terms of shooting and got thrust into all sorts of different roles and responsibilities and really held up her end of the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, she had 22 points, I think, 18 of those in the first half against West Bend West, I think she had 5 threes, and she had 5 of 8 from downtown, and that was kind of the Kylie of last year. And then you saw this year in the sectional semifinal where she had 2 just absolutely monstrous threes in the fourth quarter to keep them around against Cedarburg, and just I think a kid that took on a lot more responsibility than she anticipated, but handled it with such aplomb.
Yeah, just the injury situation got ridiculous for Beaver Dam, so forced to play more point, she did it. Forced to take on tougher defensive assignments, she did it. And if she doesn't pick up the slack in those areas, I don't think there's any way Beaver Dam makes it 5 conference titles in a row.
Yes, it is. And then they probably wouldn't get past even West Bend East in the regional final.
Yeah, so just a great season of resilience. And speaking of Beaver Dam, junior post player Brooke Heck, what a great consistent year for her.
She set the field goal percentage record by almost 5 percentage points. And this is over Kaylin Gebhardt, who's playing D1 down at Illinois State right now. And according to Chase, the head coach Jim Chase, she is the second best efficiency rating in the history of the school. That says a lot for a kid that does a lot of really good things and then minimizes her mistakes.
Yeah, I just think of a kid that's just got great instincts in terms of understanding where she needs to be on the court in terms of putting up shots to put herself in a position to succeed. She knows those kind of pet areas on the floor where she feels comfortable, and Beaver Dam run their offense well to get the ball, and boy, was she really effective in terms of just understanding where she needed to be in order to be successful on the offensive end.
And it's a little cliche to say that she was the post, but in a lot of ways, when you lose a Jenna Sether and you lose a Brianna Johnson for the most part of the season, to have her as kind of being that consistent rock and a presence inside game after game after game, that really helped Beaver Dam this year get through a lot.
And while we're on the topic of Beaver Dam and people stepping into roles where
yes.
more was required, freshman guard Cassidy Trotter, who just really played beyond her years all season long.
I can't believe she's only a freshman, and just because of the way she's able to attack the basket, just one of the best penetrators to the basket and finishers at the basket too. The sectional semifinal game that she had against Cedarburg was just wow. I mean, 20 points, I think four rebounds, 4 assists, and quite honestly, the 2 best players on the floor at times in that game were freshmen for both Cedarburg and Beaver Dam, and neither team could stop the other.
Yeah, and usually teams will have a game on the road where they'll really struggle and not much will go right. And Beaver Dam had that at Hartford, and Trotter really kind of stepped forward and saved the day. They were having defensive problems. She took on Hartford's best player, shut her down late, and just they kind of had her in a reserve role where they hoped to bring her along slowly. That went out the window. Obviously, when more injuries came along, and so that got accelerated, and she never really fell behind. The more she played, I really think the better she got.
Yeah, and I think she had a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, or pretty close to that on the season. As a freshman, that's a really, really good sign if you're Tim Chase for the next 3 years.
You got another underclassman on the second team, Mayville sophomore post Maddie Klingenmeyer.
I thought a real presence defensively inside. I think she almost was a double a game. I think she had about 9.5 boards and 13 points, and I saw her a couple times against some really good posts. Waupun had the Dolskys and Michayla Bonak, and then in the regional game against Morgan Saltzner, more than held her own. If not for injury, probably could have even had Mayville spring the upset in that one.
Yeah, just a tremendous combination, I think, of size and quickness that really posed a lot of problems for opponents. And you talk about, playing in a tough league with the likes of Kelmer and Lutheran and Springs and people of that nature. So, with her freshman Paige Persha, I think Mayville feels like there's good things coming up ahead.
Definitely, it's only scratching the surface with her, I think.
Then we have Dodgeland senior guard, forward, a little bit of everything. Ashley Younger, just one double-double after another.
I think that the stat that pretty much says it all is she was 46% of Dodgeland's offense this year, and probably half of their rebounding. Just a gal that, you ask her to do something, she's going to do it.
Yeah, and just, someone, obviously, opponents are concentrating on her, and the production pretty much remained consistent throughout. I kind of think of the 2 times they played Eustis for the first time around, she really struggled, and it was just a bad night for the Trojans in general at a Eustis. And then it was just complete reversal the second time around, so it was just an indication that they kind of stuck with it and improved and got better in terms of figuring out their weaknesses as the season went on.
Absolutely.
And our final member of the girls' second team is Wayland guard Jade Ramirez.
She's only a junior, and she's already broken the 1,000-point mark, and she did that in less games than what you would normally play. I mean, Wayland only plays between 18 and 20 games a season, so if you really think about it, she probably could have had 1,000 points by maybe the end of her sophomore year if she actually played a full schedule. I mean, just one of the best, just pure scorers in our area. And on top of that, I thought after a little bit of injury, she started to allow other players to develop and get a game on their own too.
Yeah, and just a kid that's had some injury problems the last couple of years and really hasn't lost her nerve. Another kid that's just kind of fun to watch play in terms of her consistent pace, enthusiasm, just always got to play some bounce in her step. And
yeah, when you talk to her, it's definitely a bounce. That's for sure. She's like an Energizer bunny in a lot of ways out there, but. She had a couple of big games. I mean, even against the likes of Milwaukee Vincent and University School, much bigger schools in Wayland, and she's still dropping 30+ points on them. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah, especially when Wayland really needs her, and opponents are well aware of that fact as well. So that'll do it, and that's the girls' all-area basketball team for 2013-2014.